Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of the May 2017 estate sale find, and this is another episode from the second trip. Big giant hoard of stuff that I put together, and here are a few items I'm going to go through real quick. This item here I spotted on the first trip, and it was kind of off to the side, and I didn't pay much attention to it. And then on the second trip, when I was being more thorough, I noticed that it was a Mitutoyo, and I thought, well, that's something I might want to just grab and take a chance on. Have no idea if it works. I can't remember if I even found the power supply for this, but it uses a simple 9-volt AC adapter. Apparently, it says rechargeable batteries, so unfortunately, inside here somewhere there may be a battery pack that's turning the inside of this to a corroded mess for all I know. But I couldn't find anything that would interface with this. I thought initially that maybe that Mitutoyo transducer or whatever that for that uh, height control that I showed way back in like episode 2 or whatever. Thought maybe that might plug into this, but I think that's got a different type of plug on it than this. This almost has like a 5-pin. Actually, this is a 2, 4. This has like an 8-pin DIN, DIN, I believe, is the type of plug that's on the back of this. So this is a Digimatic mini processor, a model DP-3DX Mitutoyo. It's got a little printer over here for a printout, and it's got an LCD screen. I think this is for measuring and inspecting work on multiple of the same item, and where you need a printout to certify that it was measured to within that tolerance or whatever. Probably was a pretty expensive little doohickey back in the day. Based on recent eBay searches, I don't think this is worth much at all. Matter of fact, if it doesn't even power on, I can almost guarantee you it's worthless. And if I find an AC adapter, I'm sure I've got an extra one around here, and I get the thing to power up, I'm not going to be able to really test it thoroughly, so I'm going to have to sell it just as is. And say that, probably show a picture that it came on, and that's about all I know about it, because I guess it's more antiquated technology. It's funny, this almost looks, I was just curious, this almost looks like it might open up for some reason. Power switch reset button on the side here, and there's well, I don't know what the deal is there. I'm not going to force anything. So that's that little doohickey there. Something loose in there. Next up is this sign plate. I passed on this sign plate my first trip out because it's a shop-made sign plate. I don't see anything to indicate that it was, made by a company or anything like that. Although it does have an interesting kind of like casting look on the back here, but that's not a casting. I can actually see the marks from the end mill. Looks like it was due for calibration back on June of 1993. So, this time out, I included it because I knew I was going to basically get it for the price of scrap. And for those of you who don't know yet, what this is for is the distance between this roller and this roller is very specific, and you can actually do a calculation and it will tell you exactly what size gauge block you can put underneath this end to lift this the proper amount to get a certain angle from the horizontal that it's sitting on, for lack of a better explanation. So this is, I guess, would be more accurately called the sign plate. When they're thin or narrow, they're sign bars. I don't know how wide a bar has to get before it earns the moniker of plate, or how narrow a plate has to be before it becomes just a big bar, but tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Let's call the whole thing off. I'll probably keep that. That's not worth the cost of shipping it to sell it. And it might be handy to have. I do like that it has a whole series of threaded holes here to use some clamps on it. It's almost like a mini pallet that's also a sign plate. This I spotted up on the shelf. It was sitting like this, and I don't know why I didn't see it the first time, but The box, if this is the original box, the only markings on it are 57B, but this might be a box for something completely different. I don't know what. But what this is this is a cylindrical square. And I can't find any notation on here as to who makes it. There's a little bit of surface rust. Okay. So again, got this for basically the cost of scrap metal that it's made out of. They didn't value this very much at all. But I have seen commercially sold cylindrical squares that look just like this with these holes, the way these holes are laid out. I forgot what brand they are, but so I think this is a like you know, an Enco or some kind of catalog type of or even MSC cylindrical square. So I'll probably keep that one. I have two right now that are, they were made in a company, and the company made wooden boxes for them, and they're bigger than this. So I'll probably, I don't know, sell one or two of them and keep one. Next item up is a square, and it's actually labeled right there. This is a Fay and Scott, and it says equipped, and then there's almost like a plus sign, A25. So I think this is a pretty early one. One thing that does concern me about this square, though, is that for some reason all along here somebody put X's with a marker. So I don't know why they would do that. I'm wondering whether or not that was to indicate that there's something very wrong with this square. Theoretically, if it's a mile out of whack, I should be able to take this sign plate and put this cylindrical square on it, and then put this square on it, and I shouldn't see any light behind it, right? The gap's visible all the way down to here, almost indicating that maybe there's some sort of a problem right here on the blade. It almost seems like it's touching here, and then there's a gap all the way up. Alright, so I don't know yet on this one, but for the time being, I think it's the largest machinist square that I have, so I'm probably going to hold on to it. From end to the blade edge is 11 inches, and the overall height on it is 20.5 inches. So that's again, I got this pretty much for the value of scrap. And I grabbed 3 more angle plates. This is a really small one here. This is just a hair over 4 inches. This one's actually in very good shape. It's got this silver paint on it, which is interesting because these other two also have this same silver paint on it. So I got a feeling that maybe somebody painted these. So this one almost looks like a commercially made plate. Yeah, it looks like it's a 6 by 5 by 5, or just under. This might be a metric one, might be in millimeters. And then there's this one here, pretty good size one. I actually got it on its side. It's supposed to be up like this. Okay. This is a 10-inch by 8 by 6. 3 more angle plates. Somebody just recently commented, might have been Greg, and said that you can never have too many angle plates. Next up, I grabbed these boxes of drills, and there's some reamers and stuff in there, and I'll just sort these real quick. Alright, so for starters, we get about a dozen of these Morse taper reamers, and we get about 10 assorted Morse taper drill bits. Some of these are these nice step drill bits, which are nice if you get a pilot hole that size. Then this will follow that hole and start cutting. It's almost like it reminds me of a brad point bit on a woodworking drill. Some more of these Rick James cutters, extra funky. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that one. That little stub that's left on there. Small handful of taps. Actually look like decent taps. Those are my assorted taps. That is an interesting geometry on this cutter. First I thought this was broken off, but no, that's ground that way. Two of the flutes are there's an extra relief ground into it. Two of the flutes. It's kind of weird. Oh, there's a good old normal straight shank. If I've got a, I don't know, if I've got a holder for this, I could actually use this maybe in my mill. Looks like it's in pretty good shape actually. There's a larger one. Yeah, I think that's usable. This style here. Alright, well this is this almost looks like a bevel cutter for like on a gear that is stuck on a on an arbor here. Makes me think maybe this was in a horizontal machine. I mean, that looks like a router bit. A little tiny shank on that thing. And I got three of these funky things right here. It starts out looking like a 4-flute end mill. And then diameter gets larger and it becomes almost like a 2-flute. Again, I don't know if you can see the grind on this. It's very weird. Three of whatever these are. Look at these things. And they've got a straight flute going up the side of the shank. And it definitely looks to me like maybe this metal on the end here is a completely different metal than the rest of this. And there's three of these. So all three of these are marked the same exact way. There's an M over here, and then it says 5650 22 T19. Then there's a space 539. And below that it says M42. And then there's a space and it says CHG.G. And that's the only markings on it. I'm sure if I Google that, I might be able to figure out what the hell this is. Well, this is something I could probably hang on to, find a use for. It's a couple of hefty boring bars with little carbide radiuses on here. So I think that probably would make either this could be for grooving, for a big O-ring groove, I guess, or I guess it would probably make a pretty decent finishing cut because of the radius that's on there. And I got this cutter here. This one here, this is a Westmore, made in the USA. That's kind of out of place with all this other weird stuff. Look at this. Looks like a 4-flute end mill with a super long straight shank on it. Nice big long drill bit with a straight shank on it. And this thing, it's 4-flute, whatever the heck it is. I guess it could very well be just a big ass reamer, right? Oh, here it is. It's on the end. This is marked P&W, Hartford, Connecticut, so I guess that's Pratt & Whitney. S6 70396T-219 HSP, and then HS-34. HSS is high speed, HSP is high speed pierogies? I don't know what that is. I'm going to put that in with my reamers. And on the first trip I ignored these two boxes of drills that I found. So I always find that people tend to overvalue drill bits when they sell them at flea markets and that. But this time around I just knew I was in a position to lump this in and get these for pretty much for nothing. So there's a box of small sorted drill bits. And that's actually a pretty nice one right there. You know what, that, I think I found a package of these brand new. That looks brand new too. That probably just fell out of one of those packages. I'll put that aside for later when I show those. And then a few larger ones in the bottom here. And I think I'm going to wrap up part 8 right there. So stay tuned for part 9.